We've been telling young people, go to school, get educated, then you get a good job, you'll be empowered. But in most of our countries, the people who are living the best lives have no education. The people who are driving the best cars, no education. We have political cadres now occupying significant positions in government because they are loyal. Some of them are fantastically incompetent, but they are wonderful people. Unfortunately, wonderfulness does not cure the underdevelopment challenge. We have equated having things with being, so that those who have things are considered more human beings.
There's a new force of nature at hand, stirring all over the world. They are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed, who are angry, who are organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are a moral army. And the most important thing that we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way.
Sisi vilevile sio wote ambao wanataka ugomvi kwa sababu ya ugomvi.
Niwaambia nyinyi ni wajinga mkimpata Ruto. Mkadhani tunawadanganya.
Jeti ya Ruto. Hii maisha ya Ruto ni stress na ni stress.
Mungu, wewe umetukosea.
We've been telling young people, go to school, get educated, then you get a good job, you'll be empowered. But in most of our countries, the people who are living the best lives have no education.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk, Open Forum Political, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. We salute every one of you for making time to be part of the great conversation where we are looking at some of the stunning realities that are coming to bear in our politics. The sad part of all this is in the state of education, as the grade 10 are reporting in various places of learning. Reports coming from different areas of the country is that some schools have received as less as 3 students, others 5. And from every indication is either education is on the collapse or non-existent. And we need now to interrogate is our system of education, or the system of distributing different students in different places viable? Is it practical? Is it realistic? Or we're just playing games? And this is in the backdrop of the performance of the students and the whole ecosystem of ensuring that that education sector is functioning. And it should not just functioning in the sense that we're having school opening and closing, but in the sustained systems that ensure quality education by reason of the quality products that emanate from those schools or those institutions of learning. And from my last conversation, we concluded that whatever happened with the last examination, KCSE results, is proof that education in Kenya is below standard in terms of how many sat for the exam and how many succeeded to get at least 50%. And from all indications, we are below 30%. And 30%, that is a D, is not even a D minus. It's an E. Somebody said it's an F. And so if the entire education is at F, are we still the beacon of education? Are we still leading East Africa? Talk less of, I mean, something is amiss somewhere, and we need to engage and talk about the same. And then, of course, our unavoidable political players that are pushing and pulling. It is becoming clear that the 2027 elections will not just be about one term and two term, but there is an emerging pattern of the struggle between the old guards and the youthful leaders. From what has come to play in the giant ODM party right now, you will can see clearly that there are those gravitating towards old leadership and those that are crying and yearning and fighting for young blood for the party. Where this will end, you and me need to engage and tell each other the truth on the same. And then, of course, the usual politics of handouts or economic of handouts. Gotten one video from the archives when Mzemoi was raising money just to show you that whatever that is happening right now in the name of Nyota or women empowerment or youth empowerment is nothing new. It's just harambe zile za Moi zimevalishwa nguo mpya zikafanyiwa digitalization. The more things change, the more they remain. So are we going to change the country by backtracking to the old failed systems and hope that somehow something will happen and change will come? Of course, I don't think there is much that can come from the same. Then IEBC and elections. It appears that in East Africa, election rigging is now the rule and not the exception. Uganda goes to the polls tomorrow, and the internet has been shut down. Modes of communications have been all shut down so that elections can be conducted in the dark, declared in the dark, and then they bring the results in the open. Now, even if you want, I don't know, how do you explain that? Why should elections be conducted when the internet is disconnected and power lines are disconnected and the phone communication is under, rationing? If that is not a state indicator that these elections are not going to be free, fair, and credible. And we'll also be looking at that because you remember the the young people that there was quarterfinals were in Tanzania, semi-finals and Uganda, and the really final will be here in 2027. So this shutting of the internet in Uganda, is it indicating anything that somebody's working on for Kenya? And if that is at play, how do we intend to deal with it? Because like father, like son, and there's no guessing on the same, because it appears the closeness of Yoweri Museveni and William Ruto doesn't need to be announced. It's obvious to the blind to see, the deaf to hear, and the lame to experience. Well, let's get talking. Thank you so much. As soon as you get us, please invite somebody, like the video, and let's get talking. Let me put the link for those who want to join in the studio to be able to join in the conversation, lakini tunakutegemea wewe kukaribisha mtu ili tukamakinike pamoja tunapoangazia masuala tofauti yanayohusu nchi yetu na bara letu la Afrika kijumla. Kwangu mimi nataka haki kwa kila Mkenya na nchi zote za Afrika, tukaachane na ukora, tukatekeleze wajibu wetu ambao ni kuhakikisha kwamba kila mwananchi anapata haki yake na nchi inaongozwa kulingana na katiba. Hii masuala ya kukwamilia katika utawala wa kimabavu sioni ikifika mahala popote, la sivyo tutaanzisha mambo ambayo tutaweza kuyakomesha. Haya, karibu tumakinike pamoja. Asante kwa kuchagua Sound Candid Talk. Tutaanza na hilo suala la masomo, kisha tukarejelee haya mengine hiyo baadaye. The crisis in the education sector. One moment. Okay, here we go.
Meanwhile, C1, C2 and C3 schools are bursting at the seams with grade 10 students. C4 schools face a devastating reality: empty classrooms and virtually no admissions. And as Electino Dera reports, poverty and the scramble for top-tier schools could be fueling the problem.
While hundreds of grade 10 learners flood into C1, C2 and C3 senior secondary schools, C4 schools are facing a crisis: empty classrooms and anxious principals still waiting for their first students.
As per today, honestly, I've admitted only 4 students.
At Cheni Baptist in Machakos County, admission desks are open, but there are no learners to admit. On day 2 of admissions, only 1 student is going through the process, bringing the total to just 3.
Nilikuwa nimeitwa at Ngelani High School Boys Boarding, na kwa sababu mzazi hakuwa na uwezo wa kunipeleka in that school, tukaona tukapendelea tukuja hapa Cheni, and tumemaliza kuadmitiwa.
This despite the school having the capacity to admit at least 90 learners.
Kuna pengine tulipita si hapa peke yake. Tulikuwa tumeitwa katika level ya cluster 3. Sisi hapa tuliambiwa ni cluster 4. Na katika selection yake ya shule alikuwa ameselect day school, alikuwa ameselect hapa. Sasa kuna ile iko huko Elovia, mwalimu amekataa, akasema mtoto hawezi zukia hapo na kuja kuzungukia hapo tena tu akimuona. Lazima aende mix na watoto wengine ndio aone changamoto za maisha.
Nearby at Kimwe, the situation is even worse. Not a single learner has reported. Parents here say poverty is the main barrier.
Income iko chini kiasi. Wazazi wanaendelea na kutafuta pesa juu wapeleke watoto shule.
Hata mkiangalia kuna drought, yani mambo ni ngumu bana.
At Kasinga Senior Secondary, a C4 school with space for 150 learners, only 4 students have shown up.
We are in the second week of teaching, and now our grade 10s have not been taught because they aren't there. Other schools have covered even a mile. They have settled, they have oriented the students, they have familiarized with them, and we are in the same level of assessment. And our students will eventually be wholesomely disadvantaged.
The transfer window allowed parents to move their children to higher tier schools, leaving C4 principals staring at empty portals.
A child could be placed at Kasinga Senior School, and there is that window which is opened whereby a parent can wish this child to be transferred to another choice. Another choice whereby he can go to another better school with the will of the parent, and that window, the parent will now move and then have another placement. So the child that was to come to Kasinga Senior School finds his or her own way in a different school, and thereby the child moves comfortably to the other school, and then I'm left waiting for an empty portal where my child has gone and I cannot retrieve.
Limited pathways and challenges downloading admission forms have left parents hesitant, even with fees as low as 5,000 shillings.
When I find a parent telling me, sasa nimekuja, wacha niende nijipange, it beats logic. 5,000 shillings in 3 months. And we are in January up to now, May. Actually, it's 5, including the April. I tend to think that is now a burden that should not be carried with a lot of weight of talk of naenda kujipanga. We have to be serious in educating our students.
C4 principals are now pleading with the government to ease admission mechanisms so they are not left behind in the curriculum rollout.
I talked to a parent on Sunday who was telling me that he's at Malindi and his child has been placed at Kasinga, where I do not have boarding facilities.
With the admission deadline approaching fast, the questions loom large. Is this another case of inequality in education? Is poverty silently locking learners out of the new curriculum? Or is the system itself failing to give every child an equal chance? Electin Odera, NTV, Machakos County.
Meanwhile, C1, C2...
Okay, there you have it, the education crisis for grade 10 as they report to various places. Now, this speaks volumes in how the entire education system is working. You hear that principal expressing frustration. He's waiting for the students to report uh, because the Ministry of Education was in charge of allocating these grade 10 students in these places, and it is done digitally, meaning even the principals are not involved. And now we have this mysterious of allocating students in schools that are beyond their reach. That example being given that a child is in Kilifi and is expected to report in Machakos, in Masinga, and the principal is not aware that the student is waiting for is coming from Kilifi. And then this principal is a principal for his school. So what happened until a day school student is allocated to report to a school that is 500 kilometers away, and reporting day arrived that the government was not aware that this student cannot travel 500 kilometers every day going to school and back. So it all boils to one thing. We are having a confused government at the risk of calling it dysfunctional. And I think it is dysfunctional because I don't see why adults should behave like children. I don't see any reason. There is no better explanation because this is childish and it's unheard of. And we are talking about less than 1 million students. It's less, not even 1 million. See, those that, I mean, this is terrible. So if we have this number of students that are not 1 million, I think so, giving us headache on allocating. Allocating means what? Even the classification of schools, the index numbers, and the whatever, the naming of the schools, the registration of the school, it puts in consideration, okay, the area where the school is located. The index number contains some numbers that are supposed to tell that this is a Mombasa index number, this is a Nairobi index number, and this is a Cliffy index number. So why the mix? How can we come up with such a confusion? And to some extent, I think we're just joking. We are not serious about ensuring that our education is as important as it used to be. Regrettably, I think the past was better than the present in terms of government and its seriousness on having an educated population, especially the Ruto administration. I don't think they believe in education, and they are demonstrating it. Also, it's demonstrated by, for one, the kind of people they are honoring, the kind of people they are rewarding, the kind of people they are fronting. Okay, they cannot, pride of being educated. The campaign attitude of the Ruto administration is you don't have to go to school, you don't have to be educated, you can just be a leader. And so, from the word go, the body language of this administration is that education is not important. And now it's being exhibited in how they are going about in handling the children as they go to school. And this is something that is heartbreaking as far as the future of this country is concerned. I look back and wonder what went wrong. What went wrong? Because we were arrested and taken to school by force. The government paid people to go house to house, arresting us and ensuring we staying in class. My mother will kill you if you sneaked from school. Why is government right now playing games with the education of its citizens? Because I will not just call this grade 10, because a country as much as Ruto has begun to talk about the journey to Singapore and moving Kenya to first world. Are we going to move first world by multiplying illiteracy and facilitating failures? I thought the journey to Singapore or going to first world needs to be with uh, strict boundaries and strict demands that the quality of the people graduating from our institution of learning are indeed well educated, well built, well trained, so that they can now compete with the rest. How are we going to compete with the rest of the world when we cannot conduct an allocation of students in various schools rightly? Can we now even trust the kind of marks that are allocated to these students, that indeed that is an outcome of their performance, if we can't distribute them accurately in their various schools? Even sure that the marks they were given is the right one? Are you even sure that the exam they sat for was the right one? And so the kind of laxity that is being demonstrated and the laziness that is being shown in this entire thing is problematic from the top to the bottom. Something needs to happen. We cannot have a country that is run like a kiosk. We know that Kenya thrives and prides with Jua Kali, but there are things that the Jua Kali approach cannot help. Yes, education is important and it needs to be handled professionally. And the stakeholders in this country needs to up the game completely. We need an overhaul. What we are doing as far as handling education in this country, it leaves a lot to be desired. And I pray that something serious will happen to us, that we will come around and do the right thing and not just pretend or, work hard to appear to be doing something right. Welcome on board as we continue with the conversation. And so our hearts and prayers go out for those students who are misplaced. I would just say misplaced, yes, because if you must be allocated where to go to class and by government, and government allocates you miles and miles away from where you're supposed to report in a day school, that's a crisis that is government inflicted, and I don't see this government acting fast enough to correct those errors. And so something drastic needs to happen. And that's one of the things that we call in the local leaders, the MCS, the member of parliament. I think these are the things that will require your intervention and ensuring that all the students within your locality are going to school and have found a place to further their education. So instead of you people gathering in Nairobi, yawning and hanging out, it's time for you to get back to your constituencies and find out what's happening. How many students in your constituency have been posted in a different constituency, in a different county, in a different place? These are practical things that needs to be done urgently. Like I said, this should not be even coming to you as a surprise as a member of parliament, in terms of you should not be going around looking for who has been misplaced, who has not been misplaced. As a member of parliament and as a member of county assembly, your responsibility is your constituent in your ward or in your constituency without your knowledge. One of those things is education. As a member of parliament, you need to know how many schools are in your constituency, how many students are sitting for exam in your constituency. Of all these students sitting for this final exam in your constituency, how many are capable of paying their fee, how many are not able to make their fee, so that your leadership is not just you, being called Mheshimiwa, but it is indeed you are involved in the day-to-day operations and happenings in your constituency. For example, if there is people with you call them what, lifestyle sicknesses, I think you need to be aware of that, so that your leadership is not you're seated high up there and you cannot be touched by the people down here. And so I really would advise that the leaders should step in and make education work. This expecting that education will be determined from Nairobi and Nairobi will do everything is not working. That is the very reason why devolution was fought for and was made sure that it's available in the new constitution, so that the people can determine how they are led and they can determine which projects are necessary for them. And so the attitude of members of parliament, members of county assembly, staying in the city center and forgetting their constituency and forgetting the problems from their constituency, it is not leadership, actually negligence. And as voters, we need to up the game in terms of ensuring that some people should be punished for not knowing where their children have been allocated to go to as they further their studies. You can't be an MCA and you can't tell how many sat for exam, how many were sent where. These are some information that you're supposed to have even ahead of time. That before the Minister of Education comes to announce the results, you are aware of the results. You are aware on how your constituents performed. You are aware on how many have made A's, how many have made B's, how many have made C's. How many you can proudly talk of my constituency had 100% sitting for exam, and the 100%, 70% made. That's now competition between constituencies and counties, so that we will not just talk of school so and so and school so and so made this and made this. That, removing the ranking from being localized, okay, has really helped the education system to drop without being noticed. That only 30% made it to the university cut line, and we are happy about it. What about the 70? Where are the 70? And so let's engage, let's be serious and make proper moves that will help propel this country to greater heights by ensuring that right people are in right places doing the right thing. So it is sad reality, and we really would want to advise that serious moves should be made fast enough to salvage the situation. So the president and his deputy, instead of them hanging around and roaming from one county to another, are distributing free money. They need to settle down and formulate these things so that they are fully aware. And of course, they are running the country, not running the basket of money. It's embarrassing. Let me just say it. It's embarrassing. We cannot continue like this as a country. Therefore, we must do the right thing. Well, as we continue to look at this, let's listen to this member of parliament. I think is leading now in terms of running his constituency right, and he's serving as an example, of course, also as a thorn in the flesh for the non-performing members of parliament. Let's listen.
And I want to say this for avoidance of any doubt. Mimi kama Dede Nyoro nimejitolea ya kwamba sasa bunge, mnajua hakuna bunge katika nchi ya Kenya, hakuna opposition. Hakuna mtu anaongea maneno ile inaguza wananchi hapa chini. Na tuliwaambia wasiongeza school fees, wakafikiria ni mchezo, wao wenyewe waliondoa hiyo circular kwa sababu tungefanya maneno. And I also want to tell them here in this bright day that the money you sent to our learning institutions, 26 billion, they already had debts of over 22.5 billion Kenya shillings. And therefore the money for first term is only 3.5 billion Kenya shillings. If you divide per learner, it is only 109 shillings. If the minister thinks my mathematics is wrong, akuja na calculator mbele ya wazazi, tufanye na yeye hiyo hesabu. Na watu waache kuchezea elimu tafadhali. Hata watu wa serikali mkicheza na siasa, tafadhali tusiete siasa katika maneno ya elimu. And we are not going to allow anyone achezee masomo bila malipo ambayo ililetwa na President Mwai Kibaki.
Okay, there you have it. That is Ndindi Nyoro Keharu, Member of Parliament. And is the only constituency where learners can now go to day secondary school paying the school fees of 500 shillings a term. Now that sounds like, you know, a miracle or unbelievable. But the reason I play that clip is to just call our attention to what is Ndindi Nyoro doing right that other constituencies are not doing. And you can see in the way he's passionately talking about education, that he values education and he invests to see to it that the education in his constituency is not just, going on, but it's going on rightly under his watch. So he's a member of parliament that has kept an eye on how education is being conducted in his constituency. And is clearly involved in the day-to-day running of education in his constituency. And that is what I'm referring to. We have these members of parliament that are detached from their constituency. They only come during time for seeking elections, and thereafter they get elected, they get sworn in, and they move to Nairobi. And this is a serious problem, because they are detached from the problems of the people, yet they are supposed to be representatives of the people. They are supposed to be speaking for the people. And so as a people and as a country, I believe we need to relook at who are we making leaders and who is representing us where. Do they have our interest at heart, or they are just jokers? I think, like Ndindi Njoro there said, let's joke with anything else, but not education. But not education. Let's seriously, take to heart that the kind of population we raise determines the kind of nation we build. We cannot be graduating substandard people and expect to have a learned, excellent, exposed population. In our level of literacy needs to be practically addressed, because I'm beginning to see that when the first, we say, post-colonial government came into power, they had focus on education, and the focus was to reduce the population of illiterate people in ensuring that we get as many people to get literate. We saw the same with the Fuata Nyayo, the Moi era, which was, deliberate about getting people to know how to read and write. That's when we had things like Kumbaro schools, where elderly people went to class to learn to read and write. But we all know that education does not end with learning to read and write. Okay? Education is supposed to develop people into skillful thinkers and innovators, and people that can, formulate solution to problems that have bedeviled people for long. And that will not be realized if we don't make that education quality enough and, of course, deliberate enough to see to it that we are not just harding on keeping them in class, but they are literally being trained and being taught and they are learning. It's not just I taught, I finished the syllabus. Are these your learners learning? Are they embracing what you are teaching? That's what I appreciate about the old teacher. Okay, the old teacher was not just for clearing syllabus, was not even waiting for end month. He made sure that every one of his students are understanding what he's teaching. If not, he will slow down. He will go right to the desk. He will explain, make sure that your students are learning. And so they were deliberate about what they were making to happen to the students that are handed over to them. Why are we joking with the kind of population we are raising? And now it looks like now education is just an item in the budget. And if we have allocated the money for it, that is all. No, we must see whatever value for the money. Value for the money. We're paying teachers. Ruto is going everywhere claiming he has hired 100,000 teachers. Goody, 100,000 teachers. Where are the products of the 100,000 teachers? These 100,000 teachers are the ones now allocating students in schools that are far away from them. The 100,000 teachers. So it's not just hiring the 100,000 teachers. What are they responding to? And when they have been hired, how are they handling the students? Are we really educating the nation, or we just want to hard people, put them in class, and get them to move to another class, and we pretend and assume that education is at work? Let's educate the nation, not just the students in class, not just paying salary to the teachers. Let's make sure that we're having a what? An educated nation. We're educating the nation. When we stop looking at, we've allocated this money to school, this other money to teachers, and this other money to the officers, and this one for capitation, and this, when we stop that and begin to look holistically, that we need a literate, well-exposed population. And how do we get there? We need to get many people coming out of our learning institutions well articulate and ready for life. And for that to be realized, we need well-trained teachers, and the trained teachers must be committed to the vision of an educated nation. That's how development is achieved. But this one we are playing politics with, in my opinion, it can't give us what we're looking for. And so before we begin to talk about first world, let's talk about first education. Yes, quality first class education. Quality first class education. If we are not getting that from the classroom, and if the teachers are not delivering that to the students, let's forget about the talk of first world. Therefore, I really salute the Keharo Member of Parliament for the excellent performance. And if there is anything, let everybody go and benchmark Keharo. What's happening there that is making it different from other constituencies? And the members of parliament, you call each other colleagues. What are colleagues for, other than sharing secrets and how are you doing what you are doing? Instead of you looking for an explanation, like I saw somebody explaining that Ndindi Nyoro is using the money meant for paying teachers to fund education in Keharu. You know, there are some things our politicians take us for that are really annoying. Yeah, they're really annoying because Ndindi Nyoro is a member of parliament. Paying teachers, it is a teacher service commission responsibility. So does Ndindi Nyoro now work at TSC? Ama mshahara ya walimu, pesa ya mshahara ya walimu inapewana kwa Ndindi Nyoro apeleke wapi? And so simply because they think that Kenyans cannot understand, they just come up with something like what Junaid Mohammed was talking about, that Ndindi Nyoro when he was a budget chair in the he was allocating more money in Kiharu than other constituents. That's why it's performing. Now he's not in any of those committees, but he's still outperforming you guys. So from the top leadership to the last person that is concerned with the education of this country, up the game. Time is running out. We need an educated nation, and that education needs to be practically achieved through one learner at a time. Yes, one learner at a time. My teacher, Pastor John Austin, was asked by his Baptist friend on how many members he has in his church. And so he used the expression, how many are you running? And by that time, John Austin had changed his perspective of running church in the sense that it was not just about numbers, but it was about what makes those numbers total numbers. And so he gave a response and says, I don't know how many, but they are all running. I don't know how many, but they are all running. And that's what we need to begin to demand. That education is not just a holistic, we have allocated 30 billion for education. Education is eating 3% or 10% of the budget. How much of this is translating into learners learning and graduates graduating as qualified people? I generated graduates. And so, as we go about the discussion, we really need to get involved with the education. And maybe just before I drop that, the all-time parent that would go to school and demand how this is happening, why is this teacher not getting his students to learn fast? Why is our time? If there is an exam and there is a mock exam, and let's say mathematics performed well, science performed well, geography performed well, but English language did not perform well, or Swahili did not perform well. It wasn't just the students that were held responsible, but parents will come and demand, they want audience with the teacher. Why is your lesson or your class, your subject being poorly performed? Are you the problem or the students are the problem? And so there was that aspect of wanting to know where the problem is. Today, the parents are detached from school. The teachers are also don't care. The government is operating from TSC building. Okay? Something needs to seriously get into that system of education and stir it up. That we stop sitting on a high chair and expect things to happen, and get into the boots, go down to the ground and find out what is actually happening in terms of education. And like I said, the member of our county assembly, member of National Assembly, of course, the Senate and the governors must be pushed out of those their higher offices to go to those schools under the tree, those schools under the bridge, those schools in the shades, and find out, are we having education or we're just containing the population from spilling on the streets? Thank you very much. I salute everyone who is joining from wherever you are. Please like the video. Thank you, those following on TikTok. We are live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. We expect you to be our ambassador. Push the content around. What we are saying here is important. I'm waiting for my friends to join and give their sense on this. But I believe we have so far covered enough grounds to help us make sense on the crisis at hand. And then, of course, we really would want that this information reaches the right desk. As we discuss here, let's let it stir up something in us. Let's get serious about ensuring that we are not just keeping children in school, but making them proper learners. Teachers are teaching and students are learning, and we are ending up with a generation or a learned nation. Now, one of the things that has gone wrong with our society is in having a laxity as far as upholding higher values are concerned. It's so bad that nowadays values are now debatable, are not only debatable, but almost optional. And there is this clip by Matiang'i, former minister for former CS for education, and then of course they held other dockets in the Jubilee administration, and he's giving his observation that the warnings he gave while he was a cabinet secretary about this administration have come to pass. So are Kenyans indeed serious about heeding to the warnings, or they are still wanting to learn by experience? Let's quickly hear Matiang'i. There is a presidential candidate on the Jubilee ticket, and he hopes to be made the CEO of this country in 2027. And carrying a lesson from him or two will help a great deal. You're free to vote for whoever you want to vote, but please don't hand this country to the bad leadership. Let's hear him.
Those clips that you see people circulating about what I said in 2022, about wash, about lies, and so on. And I said, don't wait to circulate this clip. I am telling you the truth like I did in 2022. So I told you, you are being lied to. These things you are being told are not true. I have been in government. These things you are told about budgets are not true. They are lies. Have they come to pass or not? Si ukweli umeonekana. So, and I'm not saying this today, don't wait to circulate this clip again. I'm telling you, we're headed the wrong direction as a country. So sababu, we fought for independence, we are an independent country, we have a constitution. How will you go to a church? Wewe hata niambie, au unaingia kanisa namna gani na polisi kupiga watu tia gazi kwa kanisa? Hata yule ambaye alitoroka, tafadhali mumwambie arudi haraka atutoe urogi, sababu sisi, how can we live like that as a country? Bishop kama hawa wazee wanatuongoza hapa, watu wa Mungu wamewekea mikono, wanatuzungumzia, eti uingie hapa kuwapiga tia gazi hawa. Yani, what is happening ni kasumba ile ya kusoea mpaka umelewa na uongozi na nguvu. You are drunk with power. That's why I'm telling you, my fellow Kenyans. Kwanza tuombe nchi yetu. Pili, sisi tukae pamoja, kwa sababu najua wakati shida iko kwa nchi namna hii, tunaweza kudanganywa tuanze kugawanyika. Nimeanza kuona jana kwa social media mambo mengine imeanza kuingia ya kusema sijui ni kabila fulani, sijui kabila hii kutoka Mount Central. Shida yetu si kabila Kenya hii. Shida yetu ni uongozi mbaya. Na uongozi mbaya si kabila. Ama namna gani? Yeah. Those clips that you see people circulating about what I said in 2022, about wash.
Okay, that is Dr. Matiang'i reminding Kenyans what he said in 2022, warning that from the look of things, and by that time he was a cabinet secretary for interior, and he's now pointing out that the same things he talked about that would happen if power was handed to the faction of then Deputy President William Ruto, this will be the outcome. So he's reminding Kenyans that every one of those things he said have come to pass before our eyes. And he's also letting us know that what is going on right now is an outcome of our failing to heed to the warnings that he gave in 2022. And he says what is going on practically is an indicator that the country is headed in the wrong direction. That I am with him 100%, because all the opinion polls that have been conducted since William Ruto came to power, over 70% of Kenyans have agreed that the country is headed in the wrong direction. My problem is that if 2022, the country headed in the wrong direction, 2023, the country is headed in the wrong direction, 2024, the country is headed in the wrong direction, 2025, the country is still headed in the wrong direction. This is 2026. We're still talking about the country is headed in the wrong direction. That simply means that the driver doesn't listen to the warnings and of course is not paying attention to the road signs, and he doesn't care whether he will take the country to the ditch or take the country to the Indian Ocean. To him, he just likes driving. So as long as he's having motion, he's happy. He doesn't want to know where the country is headed and how the country will be when it gets where it is headed. And that's a very sad reality, because if you don't heed to warnings and you don't heed to wherever signals, then you are a danger by yourself. You are a risk by yourself. Yes. There's a scripture in Proverbs. It says, he who hardens his heart and stiffeneth his neck at rebuke and correction. No? It says, he shall be cut suddenly, and that without remedy. When you outgrow instruction and correction, you cannot avoid destruction. The destroyer will catch you when you least expect to be caught. This country needs to retrace their steps and get back to the place where we are functioning as a country systematically, but as some of it is like the debate in the old constitution, the development was all controlled by State House. And Kibaki administration saw that this controlling everything from State House and only the ruling party to be in charge of the money for development was slowing the development and, of course, marginalizing into different places. And so he wisely came up with this CDF so that even if you're from an opposition area, you will still receive the same allocation like those in the pro-government areas, so that development takes place without segregation. That was a measure placed as a measure to help us get to the 2010 Constitution. And now in the new Constitution, we came up with devolution. That devolution had an allocation. That allocation was meant to do what? Ensure that different counties get allocations for their development. And so what happens with our country is that that amount of, or rather that CDF money that was supposed to be a bridge between the old constitution and the new constitution, so that when the new constitution is implemented, we can stop the CDF and make the CDF money be part of the allocation of the counties. What has happened? We have refused to the CDF, and we also want what? County allocation. And so what happens? The money allocated for development is split into two, and it has now created another crisis for ourselves. And so we seem not to be quick in being weaned to the new operating system. We carry the old system into the new and therefore spoil the operation of the new. And that to me sounds bad, and it's something that we need to look at seriously and consider as it should. Well, there is that aspect of our politics, being fierce and at times very combative. But let's listen to this Sifuna saga with the ODM and how Sifuna has come in, why he's standing out at the moment. Let's watch this. After that, we'll come to break it down and begin to wrap up. Thank you, everybody.
Meanwhile, Orange Democratic Movement Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, who has kicked a fresh storm within the party, says he's not ready to speak to the media anytime soon, not until things are sorted out fast. Sifuna, who has openly stated that he will not throw his weight behind President William Ruto's 2027 re-election bid, has stated that he does not fear anyone and is ready to rumble with whoever comes his way. And as Duncan Haimba reports, for Edwin Sifuna, his is a case of an apple that does not fall far from the tree.
Sahi tunalia huko nje. Kama sio wewe Junet tungekuwa kwa serikali. So mimi huwezi nitisha bwana. Hawezi kunitisha. Wanasema Nairobi ukipata sponsor mpya usianze kutukana ule alikutoa kwa bed sitter.
The abrasive, fearless and firebrand Nairobi Senator Edwin Watenya Sifuna is a student of law come politician whose entry into the limelight was as bold, thunderous and fiery as he comes. Sifuna, whose roots are from Western Kenya, Bungoma specifically, has stood out as a leader who is always ready to rumble whenever, wherever. A leader who confronts challenges head on. The lawyer shot to the limelight on 22nd March 2015 when, together with his Okoa LSK brigade, scuttled LSK's annual general meeting after a section of members disagreed with the LSK president, then Eric Mutua, over rules of procedure. Okoa LSK team, led by then little-known Sifuna, wanted the controversy surrounding the construction of the proposed International Arbitration and Convention Center be put at the top of the agenda. A standoff ensued. Team Sifuna held its ground, leading to the meeting aborting.
Respect law and order. Yes. We cannot be shouting the way we are shouting.
Nobody should scare you that we are perpetuating an illegality. The illegality has worked out.
It was moved to the second venue the following day, and still the opposition within the society carried the day, forcing its president to walk away. The Okoa LSK squad took over and concluded the AGM. A year later, in June 2016, the High Court advocate was at it again when he marched to ODM party headquarters and took over as the Secretary General, overthrowing then SG Tofik Tera Ababu Namwamba Smart, who had fallen out with the powers that be at Orange House.
We are taking a position that has been vacant. So that is why we are here today.
A position he has held for nearly 10 years now, discharging his duties in his characteristic style, brevity. In 2022 August, he entered Parliament after being elected third senator of Nairobi City County. And even in the August House, Sifuna has remained Sifuna, fearless and unwavering.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very well versed with Rule 30.
Just read Rule 30.
I am well versed with the rule. I just want to say...
I am not versed. Read it for me, please.
But you cannot direct me to read. I am saying...
Honorable Sifuna, read Rule 30.
I am well versed with the rule. Let me say what I want to say, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, let her read. Let's see how well she knows. I don't think there is any rule that requires that I can be directed to read.
Honorable Sifuna, take your seat.
Thank you.
The senator for Nairobi should simply support the motion and sit down instead of Kola-Shulman syndrome. Otherwise, you cannot threaten us as senator for Nairobi. For the first time, I have also spoken about this thing of threatening, and you know I rarely speak about these matters of things that look like discipline.
Madam Senator, I hope you will take the wisdom of that objection from Senator Madam.
Madam Speaker, I am not obliged to be lectured to listen to anyone. We have children. If you feel the need to lecture anyone, go home and lecture your children. I was not elected here to be lectured by anyone. Madam Speaker, let me proceed to second the motion. That is a fact.
In April 2025, during the burial of late Raila Odinga's chief security, George Oduor in Rarieda, the city's senator came face to face with President William Ruto. And here, they exchanged political pleasantries too.
Ilikuwepo pale tukiandikisha mkataba na chama cha UDA. Na huo mkataba kuna mambo inazungumzia.
Nimesikia Sifuna anaongea na nguvu. Wakati unaongea mambo yangu Sifuna, ukinisukuma sana, nitaitisha mkutano naweza kufanyia discipline.
Since taking over as party secretary general, the late party leader Raila Odinga was always protective of Sifuna.
When Mr. Sifuna speaks, he's speaking on behalf of the party. Mr. Sifuna, saa ingine hapana kwa chungu sana.
The current storm within the party was started by Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed when he alleged Sifuna was on a mission to sell the Orange Party to retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, prompting the senator to fire back salvos.
Former President Uhuru Kenyatta anataka kusaidia sisi kwa chama chetu cha ODM. Mimi nimebaki tu kusema that he is ready to invest over $1 billion shillings in our party. Ati ili atusaidie chama yetu ikuwe imara.
Mshenzi mmoja ametambua kwamba kuna ubaya ya pesa ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Nataka niulize Junet. Wewe Junet, pesa ya Uhuru ilianza kuwa mbaya siku gani? Siku ile ulikuwa unachukua hiyo pesa na hata yote hukuleta kwa chama.
Edwin Sifuna is a nephew to the late Lawrence Sifuna, former Kandui Member of Parliament, who was among a group of fiery opposition MPs during the late 70s and 80s, who were referred to as Seven Bearded Sisters, who openly challenged President Daniel Moi's regime. His seemingly rebellious nature runs in the blood, or is it?
If they want to go for presidential candidacy, they should look for another party.
Hakuna mtu ambaye ana uwezo ya kunifukuza ndani ya chama cha ODM. Wewe tulia tu. Sisi Waluya tunasema mkienda kuwinda mnyama ambaye amekuwa akikula kondoo, anakula kuku yako. Amuendi wote kwa laini moja namna hii. Sijui kama mnanielewa. Mnanielewa. Wewe ingilia hii pande, akifikiria ni wewe, anasikia amepigwa mshale ya kifua. Anasikia mwingine amemshika shingo, mwingine amemshika mguu, kidogo kidogo fisi wapi? Chini. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka mkae ngangari.
A section of ODM members have prevailed upon ODM party leader Oburu Oginga to convene an emergency meeting of the party's Central Management Committee to extinguish the fires. Duncan Haemba, NTV.
Meanwhile, Orange Democratic Movement Party.
All right. That is it as far as Nairobi Senator, my Senator Sifuna is concerned, and his rise to the limelight. And then, of course, his bravery in defending his stand on issues. there has been, the altercations between different factions within the ODM party. Some of them are founded, others are unfounded. And one of it is springing from the aspect that Sifuna is forthright and at times too aggressive in articulating his stand, that even the appointed party leader after the demise of Raila Odinga, Dr. Oburu Oginga, is at times feel threatened. And so we have some power brokers within the ODM that are not sitting pretty by the way Sifuna is conducting himself and his decisions about the party. But what is of great interest is that of all the people that have a problem with Sifuna, it is because Sifuna is not in support of the re-election of William Ruto. And my point is simple. William Ruto is not an ODM member. And William Ruto has no stake in the ODM party. To the best of my knowledge, William Ruto is the party leader of UDA. And UDA is not ODM. And so why should you fight Sifuna for defending ODM in favor of the party leader of UDA? That's where it beats my logic. That you want to kick somebody from ODM because he's opposed to the party leader of UDA. How now? And so some of the things that are being leveled out there are, in my opinion, just not even witch hunting, but an expression of frustration, number one, and of course, sheer ignorance of what should be. If there must be a merger between UDA and ODM, that's a decision that is to be taken by the party organs, not one party organ, but the party organs. And having just lost the long-serving leader of ODM of over 20 years, the party needs to regroup, needs to reorganize itself before it gets into any agreement with anybody. As far as ODM is concerned right now, there has been the shock of the unexpected death of Raila Odinga has not even been addressed. And majority or many of the party members are yet even to come to terms that Baba is no more. And so while that is happening, we cannot quickly be looking on how to merge with other political parties. We should first of all recall ourselves, be able to mourn our leader, and when we are through with the mourning period, then we begin now to reorganize. How will we lead ourselves going forward now that Baba is not there? Then from there, step by step, we fill all the vacuums and ensure that what happens, we are moving as one force. But there seems to be a quick, desperate, a push, which in my opinion is external, into the ODM party for them to quickly decide they're going to support William Ruto. That decision needs to be taken by the party, and the party needs to be together before that decision is taken. So, in my opinion, if Oburu Odinga indeed has the interests of the ODM party at hand and he really wants to honor and perpetuate the legacy of Raila Odinga, then he needs to take a step back. Other than begin to fight and break ODM in many pieces, he needs to shut his ear from external forces that wants to wreck the party and concentrate on consolidating the party, strengthening the party, and let the party be able to get on the negotiating table when it's a strong force. But this one that is forcing and imposing himself to the population and demanding that he's the legitimate party leader and nobody should do anything without him, or his decision is final. There was only one person, and this came up at the bunge la wananchi. Kulikuwa tu na mtu mmoja akisema right ni right na left ni left, na alipewa hiyo nafasi kwa sababu yeye ndio mwanzilishi wa ODM. Sasa hivi hakuna mtu wa left na ni left na right ni right. That man is now resting in peace. The rest of the leaders need to consult and need the consent of the members before any move is made. And so I am in support of Sifuna and, of course, his strong stand, especially when it comes of law and people respecting the regulations and the rules that govern any form of interaction. Let's respect. For example, before Baba's demise, the agreement between UDA and ODM was pegged on the 10 whatever points of the memorandum of understanding. And before Baba passed away, the agreement of how ODM will go into the election in 2027 was not made. Secondly, it was pegged on those 10 points that UDA was meant to implement. And how UDA implements the 10 points will determine whether ODM will support them or not. So this quickly moving and ignoring the 10 points and wanting to get into a merger with UDA without attending to the 10 points is the whole, suspicious approach that I don't find interesting. And I saw a picture of the 4 Western Kenya governors coming up and supporting the approach that Oburu is leading in the negotiations and talks with UDA. And according to Otuoma, Otichilo, Baraza, and Lusaka, okay, they are all for broad-based and they are all in support of William Ruto, even before the decision is taken. Now, what I find fascinating is that ODM has the majority of governors in Western Province. Otichilo is ODM, Otuoma is ODM, Baraza is ODM. The only Nyakwanza governor in Western Province is Lusaka for Ford Kenya. Okay? So, between Lusaka and Otichilo, Baraza, and Otuoma, who should join the other? Does the big river join a small river, or the small river joins the big river? Who should abandon the other and support the other? Ford Kenya should be supporting ODM, or ODM supporting Ford Kenya? Ford Kenya should be following ODM, or ODM following Ford Kenya? So what we are seeing here is some hyenas that have heard that there is meat across. They want to go and eat the meat. They are not interested in credible, functional, well-stipulated leadership. All they are careful about and what they are craving for is to eat the meat. So this hyena approach that has blinded Baraza, Otichilo, and Otuoma not to see that they are the majority. They are the majority. They are supposed to be leading the way. And now they are leading the big river to go and join the small river. That's unnatural. And so ODM and their merger with UDA will just mark the obituary. There is no future for ODM with Ruto. The only ODM that we know will outlive Ruto administration is the ODM that runs away from Ruto. All the parties that have gone to join Ruto are gone. That's how things look. Well, I want us to begin to wrap up. Is a few minutes to 2 a.m. East African time. I salute everybody who is part and parcel of this conversation. Points, Diosioni, can I see some of your comments and how we are doing in terms of what's cooking? I believe what we are saying here is important and needs to be considered. In my opinion, I would that the people who are concerned with the decision making as far as the ODM party is concerned, let's go back to the book of rules and forget this aspect of Oburu is final, and whatever Oburu says, nobody should say no to it. It will not work. Oburu is not Raila. Yes, Oburu is not Raila, and the trust that Kenyans had for Raila, they will not transfer it to Oburu overnight. It doesn't work that way. And so if Oburu insists on running ODM kwa kifua, sounded by those goons who have refused to use their brains, ODM led by Oburu is going to end up like Ford Kenya, led by his father, Jaramogi. History is about to repeat itself. Enough said. Let's make progress. Thank you everybody. Tafadhali karibisha mtu. Nikisema tu masuala ya ya Ford Kenya na uongozi wa Western Kenya. Kuna hii bridge nimetumiwa na ni confess tu nimetumiwa, okay? Sio mimi nilichukua hii picha. Lakini bridge iko Bungoma County na ni hatari kwa usalama. Lakini ndio njia ya pekee ya watu kuvuka kutoka ng'ambo ingine hadi ng'ambo nyingine. So mtu anauliza Mudavadi ako kwa serikali. Weta is the number 3 in the country. Is this the kind of bridge that should be functioning when we have 2 strong people in Western Kenya occupying strong seats in the country? Prime CS and Speaker of National Assembly. Here we go. Okay, there you have it. That's a footbridge that is helping Bungoma guys across the famous River Nzoia. River Nzoia is not a small river, and you saw that a bridge made of ropes. Okay, when we were growing up as small boys, we were given stories about the bridge So we are not talking about something that was put up last week. This is called Mfunje, and it's been in existence for as long as I can remember. So why it has remained that way all these years is what I don't understand. Even after over 10 years of devolution, we still have got Mfunje crossing River Nzoia. Why? And we have Wetangula claiming that he is the kingpin and he has the votes of Bungoma in his pocket. Why do even Bungoma people give leadership to such people? Lusaka is serving his second term as governor. He has not seen this Mfunje and so sense in making it a safe way of crossing. I don't know how many people will risk crossing over such. Well, being in government needs to have some something to show for it. If it is only the flag and the vehicles, kuna kitu makosa hapa, lazima kifanyike. Na this could be the reason why the Bungoma people are not so happy with the leadership of one Wetangula. Okay, there was this. I hope that video is here. This Bungoma residents who have refused, who uprooted the road sign that had been allocated, I think, by the Lusaka administration, that a certain road be called Wetangula, and they pulled down the road sign. I mean the post where the name of the road was put, uprooted it literally. They don't want to see the name of Wetangula. And I just remembered that, and of course brought that to the limelight in the sense that when leaders don't do their responsibility, they set the population against themselves. And the purpose of leadership is to ensure that there is solution to what bedevils the people. It's not just in the prestige of you being known and called as a leader. There must be that aspect of, moving around and understanding that the people are counting on you in ensuring that you will facilitate answers to their problems and not just enjoying the clamor of being referred to as a leader. And so as we begin to wrap up, I just want to mention that Ugandans are waking up to go to the polls, and according to the information, the internet has been switched off. The phone, mobile phone network has been put under surveillance that is controlled on the coverage and all that. And questions now arising. Are we expecting what happened in Tanzania to happen in Uganda? Why should an election be conducted in the dark and the results be read before the world knows what went down? Is this progress or failure? I think let's accept for once that if we want democracy to decide our leadership, let's allow democracy to work. If we don't want democracy to decide our leadership, let's just do away with it, other than using it as a tool that deceives, other than deliver the whichever a desired expectation. And that was the poll question we asked, and the responses are not so much, but I think we have 8 votes. Do you believe election rigging is now normal in East Africa? And 100% say yes, it is widespread. And like I said, it appears that election rigging is now the rule and not the exception. What is this pointing to Kenya's general election that is imminent? Are we also going to conduct it in the dark? No internet, no mobile phone, just voters. Think about it. We'll pick from there the conversation in the next show. I want to really appreciate every one of you for your commitment and continued support of Sound Candid Talk. We've been here for long and we want to keep this conversation going. And what we seek is nothing but the truth. And we want the right way of dealing with whatever it is that goes on in our country and, of course, on the wider range, Africa and the world. Remember, you're responsible for whatever happens. Don't take a low profile when you need to step up, speak up, and be heard. Be the positive influence in your sphere of influence in ensuring that we will have a country that's run for the profit of the majority of the people. Kenya for all Kenyans, not Kenya for the few at the expense of the rest. Don't forget the statistics that came out that this country has 125 people who owns more than the rest of us. That's the thing you need to think about, and then we must find a lasting solution for the same. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this from the archives. Probably this is a bit long, but I think let's just we'll look into that in the next show. Tuangalie tu hii tuking'atuka, kukumbusha tu kwamba tumekuja njia hii ndefu kutoka mbali.
3,000 Otwani 3,000 Mheshimiwa Akibaya 2,000 20,000 kwa Bwana Nabwera 20,000 5,000 Dr. Julia 15,000 Mrs. Orsando mkubwa wa kina mama Kenya akiwa na 2,000 kutoka kwa mama wa Busia. Bwana Musalia 10,000 Waziri Musalia. Bwana Wasike Permanent Secretary 10,000. Bwana Gumo 4,000. BC wa Central Bwana Mudhoka. Bwana Mburu Kimani Assistant Minister na mjumbe wa Kandara 3,000. Bwana Kibubani 3,000. Bwana Hosea Kiblagat 3,000. 3,000. Otwani 3,000. Mheshimiwa Akibaya 2,000. 20,000 kwa Bwana Nabwera 20,000.
Okay, tumetoka mbali na kukusanya ili tujenge nchi. Inaonekana huo ndio mtindo ambao tunataka kuendeleza. Licha ya kuwa miaka 62 huo mtindo haujasaidia wengi wa Wakenya. Kwa nini tunataka kuendeleza na kusisitiza kwamba ni njia pekee? Hakuna njia mbadala ambayo tunapaswa kutumia kusaidia nchi isonge mbele. Msimamo, hali vipi? Nilikuwa tufungasha, wewe umechelewa. Msimamo, sauti?
Unanipata?
Yes. Na kupata sasa. Karibu, hali vipi?
Mimi nashukuru.
Karibu.
Ni vile tu kwamba nilikuwa safarini, so ghafla ndio naona kuna link yalivyo, lakini hata hivyo kwanza pokea zangu na wale ambao wanatufuatilia. Cha msingi ni kwamba tumenyonga katiba hii yetu ya 2010. Sasa tunarudi ile ya zamani, tutake tusitake, sababu huo ndio mfumo halisi ambao uliweza kumpa mtu miaka ya kuhesabu katika mamlaka, na bila kuitumia hiyo mbinu bila shaka. So kila ilivyo kwamba maji yanasemekana yanafuata nini? Mkondo. So ina maana sasa tumetoka katika uongozi wa kati, sasa tumeingia uongozi wa bonde, na kama ni uongozi wa bonde lazima utafuata nyayo. Kwa hivyo hayo ndio ambayo tunashuhudia sasa hivi, na kwa kila jambo tangia awali, kama unakumbuka Ben, kwamba county commissioners ndio wanakuwa kipaumbele kuliko governor.
Samahani, msimama, inaonekana tunakupoteza. Okay, inaonekana msimamo ana itilafu ya mitambo. Sauti yake haifiki. Cha muhimu tu ni wewe kumbuka kila amesema kwamba inaonekana maji inafuata mkondo, na huo mkondo ni kwamba tufuate nyayo. Anasema uongozi ikitoka Central kwenda kwa bonde la ufa, na watu wa bonde la ufa hawa wanafuata nyayo. Kila ambacho Central ilifanya hawa wanasema hawabadilishi, lakini matokeo yake tunaona ni tofauti. Cha muhimu hapa ni kila Mkenya awajibike. I beg you, kama hujachukua kura yako ende uchukue. Hata kama kura zitaibwa, wewe piga kura kwanza. Wizi wa kura baadaye tutashughulikia, tutafuta dawa, lakini wewe kura kwanza. Kuwa na kitambulisho. Kuna jamaa moja hapa amesema kwamba kutakuwa na ile hali ya kununua ID cards ya kujaribu kuhakikisha kwamba kura milioni 5 hazitapigwa kutoka sehemu fulani. Kwa hivyo ukitaka kufaidika na hiyo hela, enda utengeneza ID nyingi. Kuna ile ya kutuma kasongo nyumbani, na kuna ile ya kufanyia biashara wakati wataanza kununua IDs. So fanya stock. Sahi ID ni bure, so enda uchukue abstract utengeneze alafu. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but I just want you to know that people want to defeat the right way at all costs. It is sad, but that's how they want it to go. And so if you are not careful, we lost this country long time ago. We just pretend to be in charge, but kuangalia vile mambo yanakwenda, hapa kuna ngoma kali ambayo ni ngumu kusimama nayo ama kuitetea. But for now, nataka tumalizie hapo tunapong'atuka. Alamsiki, tukutane tutakapo.
Wacha tu nikuambie, my president, hakuna haja mtu anakuja anakupaka mafuta na uongo, badaye vijana ni ngapi wanapitia. Excellency, I'm here on behalf of these all youth wako hapa. Tulisafa sana tukipigania kitu inaitwa corruption in our country. That is the only our problem. My president, if you can eradicate corruption in our country na ufunge mashimo zote, our excellency, hata kusema tutam, sidhani nani atasema ati si watu tam. Mwenye atasema wanda mimbi mwenye afikiri. If you can come back to us empowers. Wacha tu nikukwambie my president, because sioni venye baba yangu amekuvia hapa but ampe hiyo time. Wacha tu nikukwambie my president, hakuna haja mtu anakuja anakupaka